Hello, everyone. Welcome to Sacred Space, the podcast. Today's episode is very intuitively led. We're just going to roll with what comes through. I'm feeling like the direction of just explaining like shadow work and the menstrual cycle on a really basic level for you to just like get a gist of what I actually mean when I'm speaking into the shadows of the cycle and things like that. Firstly, we're going to begin with our oracle card, and I just pulled this one. It's called First Breath number 21, which equates to a 3, which is really interesting because I have been seeing 333 or like 3 like fucking everywhere I go. I think it means spiritual awakening, but I also haven't completely looked into that. I also, when I see angel numbers, always just like remind myself it just means that I'm like on the right path or I'm super supported. So it's also like that energy of like, yes, they mean one thing, but like, you just like give it your own meaning. But like looking at this, it's like a chick or like that sounded so casual considering I'm reading an oracle card for you. It's a woman who's like juggling like a bunch of different planets. So like even like a bunch of different realities, right? You could look at it in that way of like she's got her hands like she's like really connected to like all these different worlds, all the wisdom of all the different worlds, and she's then just like actually just taking a first breath in like what does she believe in, what feels good for her. And it is called First Breath Beginner's Mind. And yeah, it's just like interesting because she's also wearing like a dark mask, which is cool that we're going to be talking a bit about shadow work today. So it's also that energy of like, does she want to take the mask off because it's her first breath, or is she feeling really raw and vulnerable because it's like a new beginning, all the things. On the day of recording as well, it's literally like 11 to the 11th of January, which means like it's the 111 portal, which is like super huge on like the energy of like new beginnings, and like 111 is usually like related to that. Look at all this angel number talk that I've got going on. So that's super cool in itself, like that card. I'm going to read you like what the book says. So like there could be like some nuggets of wisdom in here. It says, when the first breath card shows up for you, it is time to leave the old stories and tales behind. You have arrived. Take a deep breath and another. There is nothing else you need to do but take in the new world that is revealing itself around you. Trust your natural curiosity. There is no need to dwell on how difficult the journey has been or how tight the passage to get to where you are now. Just take it all in and experience the awe and wonder of your arrival at this destination. Even if it is a familiar place, you may have come many times before, try to experience it as if for the first time. For you are renewed and the old is no longer your concern. Practice the beginner's mind, not labeling or naming what you see and experience. That situation was so difficult only a few days ago. Just be with it and breathe. You have already gone beyond it. You have overcome and resolved it, even if no one else realizes this yet. Soon enough, they will as you move on. Do not squander the power of your first breath, giving the old narrative mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. Use it for new beginnings to animate a world you can play and create in. Do not underestimate the power of your breath and the magic of the world. This card's fucking so good, especially because we're in January and it's like the start of the year. And like, I mean, this episode will be going live at the end of January, but like, same. Oh my gosh, it's so cool because it's like literally just like allow yourself to be curious. Like literally, if you have started this year strong and you're like, hitting the gym and like tracking your cycle and like eating healthy and like doing your daily meditation, doing your daily devotions, and like other people are like, yes, sis, you're gonna fall off that bandwagon soon. Like, fuck them. Allow yourself to actually like continue and like strive for more and like let go of that past identity of like she would usually give up or she would whatever the fuck, you know what I mean? Like just this time of year, I just feel like that could definitely be a projection that you're receiving from other people. So do not underestimate the power of your breath. I also think that part is really cool because it's really true. Like our breath is our life force. It's like so powerful when we connect to our breath. So maybe it's also just a nudge for all of us to start anchoring in on daily breath work practices or like breath connection, which is just so supportive on our nervous system. Anyway, let's get into this episode. So today I wanted to talk about shadow work and the menstrual cycle. So I've been going through like quite a lot of like transformation recently, like in myself, in my business, and just almost coming to like a new sense, like a rebirth. let's say rebirth. I've been definitely going through a rebirth, and it hasn't been like from the energy of like, I don't know who the fuck I am. I don't know like anything, like, oh, I want to give up. It's not that energy. It's the energy of like, I know who I am and I know what I want to step into. What are the steps in between that? How can I tweak my life to support my highest vision even more? And it's been like very like intentional and like empowering in this journey of like, who the fuck am I and what am I stepping into? And something that I've really come to terms with is like working with the menstrual cycle from an energetic lens and optimizing your health overall. Yes, it's like fucking like elite. Like, this is what I'm here for. But a really main focus that I have is like the energetic work. And I mean, fuck, if you've been listening to this podcast for like over a year, like since I've had it, like, you know, I'm a fucking like spiritual woo woo, like energetic person. So it only makes sense for me to like be really like anchoring in on this even deeper in my business. And that's really like, I guess, like what I've been journeying. Like, how do I bring in this like more psychic, like intuitive, energetic side of me to the work that I already do, just to elevate it. Like, it's really a time of like elevation rather than like change or anything like that. Like, it's been really, really cool to just like witness that, see what comes through, listen to my intuition, and just like follow the footsteps up until like wherever the fuck I'm going, like, I guess just continue following them. But yeah, like shadow work in the menstrual cycle is something that behind the scenes, I talk to my clients about all the time. I'm always referring back to the shadows of our menstrual cycle. And this really began when I started my cycle syncing journey. And you know, like everyone says, like at this phase of your cycle, you should be feeling this way. And at this phase of your cycle, you should be feeling this way. And I came to this realization of like, I'm not fucking feeling that way. And instead of feeding into the what's wrong with me, which is like the story that like a lot of women feed into and that I was feeding into a lot prior, it was almost like I just got curious. I got into that curiosity of like, okay, I'm not feeling how I should be feeling. What's actually going on here? Like, what's beneath this? And what I found to be true was, I've spoken about this a few times on my podcast, but I used to get really severe ovulation pain. And what I found to be true was that my suppressed expression is actually what was causing the ovulation pain. Meaning that at each phase of our cycle, we have like the different things that we like step into, ovulation being the mother archetype, being the expression. When like I wasn't expressing myself, so like of course I was getting pain and I wasn't feeling like sensual and fun and like communicative or anything like that. I was feeling the opposite. Like how you quote unquote should be feeling on your period is how I was feeling on my ovulation, and vice versa. So instead of feeding into like the what's wrong with me, I got curious, and I actually like started to like investigate almost like, why is it that some women feel exactly aligned with how they should when they're cycle syncing, and why is it that some women don't? And I really anchored into the belief of like, there are shadows of each phase of our cycle. I mean, fuck, there's shadows of fucking everything. Like the sun is only up for like what, how many hours is the sun even in the sky? Like fucking 12 hours a day or something? I don't know. And then like there's the dark, there's the night. And same for the moon. Like she's in her fullness for like a few nights of the month. And then the other half of the month, she's waning away and she's hiding and she's going into the shadows and she's going inward. And it's literally the same for our menstrual cycle. And of course it is, right? Because we bleed by the moon and there's like all these things to it. And it's just like, this conversation is so deep, and I'm not going to go like super in the depths with it. I'm probably going to do like some sort of like course or trainings on this, like in the near future, just so you can like go deeper with this with yourself and like really like get into that like thought provoked like space of like, oh, like how can I like elevate and all the things. But practically, like what I want to speak to now is like, let's go through each shadow of like the menstrual cycle. So we have our bleed time, we have our period time. So this is our menstruation, and this is the phase that's linked to the wise woman archetype. Wise woman being the woman who has like gone through all phases. She's like the truth speaker. Like she knows who she is. She feels so anchored in who she is. She expresses herself as well, but it's like almost like from a space of like deep within the heart, deep within the womb. And she knows her wisdom, right? Like, you know, like back in the day when there was like the wise women of the community and they would have all the herbs and you would go to them and they would support you and they would like, you know, help you if you were sick. They would have all the answers. They would mentor all the other women. Like that's that wise woman energy. So a way that I like to look at it from a shadow lens as well, I want to add, the wise woman is she has gone through all cycles of woman. She's finished her bleed. She's gone through menopause. She's come to a space of complete acceptance with death and rebirth, right? Because she's gone through it all. She understands that everything, it begins as like a blossoming flower, as a maiden, and it ends as a wise woman, but she's come to a space of complete acceptance in that letting go. So a shadow to the menstrual cycle in the menstruation phase is the fear of letting go, the refusal to let go, the refusal to release. That then is going to be probably causing pain because you're refusing to step into the acceptance of letting go. Another shadow linked to the period phase is it's the wise woman archetype. So again, truth speaker. Where aren't you speaking your truth? There's a shadow for you to go deeper with. Like, where am I not speaking my truth? Uncover that, like go deeper with that, and you're probably going to recognize that there's a pattern, or there's a cycle, or there's something there that you can begin to work on and to begin to accept in yourself, so that on a physical level and a hormonal level and a cellular level, you can then like embody your period phase without the pain, without the irregularity and anything like that. I want to add, like, if this is something that you like, as I speak through this episode and you're like, holy motherfucker, I need support in this. Like, if you know that you're holding on to things in different phases and you want to work through it, but you don't necessarily know how to go deeper with it, or you just want some support, I would love for you to reach out to me. I am just about to start like actually offering like Telegram spaces where we can just chat like via voice message throughout the week. So it's like a mentorship space, and it's going to be specifically designed for you, that like a self-led space for you to actually like go deeper with this, but me to like provoke the questions within you and like support you from a very holistic lens in like moving through all these things. So just keep that in mind. Like, just send me a DM, say you're from the podcast. We can have a chat about it and like see if that's something you want to step into. That would be a really cool and supportive space. Another thing I want to add is I do have my Inner Seasons Masterclass. This is only $22 for now. I'm thinking I might raise the price soon because it has been absolutely incredible, but this is like a prerequisite into my world. Like, if you want to know what I'm about, if you just want like a basic, like the foundations of the menstrual cycle, jump in Inner Seasons. It's literally $22. It's a 40-minute training. You get an ebook with it. And that's just going to set you up to understand your phases, understand yourself a little bit better, which is just like also so great. So I'll leave all the links below, like I always do, just to make it easy for you. Let's go into the follicular phase. So think follicular phase, right? Like, it's linked to the maiden archetype. Maiden being like, she hasn't gone through much in life. She's naive. She's playful. She's curious. She's all these things. That's all well and good. And that is the energy of the follicular phase. Although if in this phase, so after you finish your period, you find that you emotionally drop, like you emotionally don't feel fucking good. You don't feel creative. You reject the playfulness in you. You're like, I just can't tune into it. I can't tune into any of it. The maiden is linked to the inner child, right? Like, she is the inner child. Where do you need to do some inner child healing? Where do you need to do some inner teenage healing? Where do you need to do some healing, rewrite some beliefs, and actually like come to a space of like acceptance of this was your childhood, or this is what happened to you as a little girl or a teenager, that you can actually like go back and do the work there. And like I said, please message me if you want support in this. Like, this Voxer space, this Telegram space is going to be like, it's designed for that, rather than like getting on an hour call together. It's like in the moment, like we get to work through it, and it's going to be really, really cool and supportive. But like, and this is deep work. Like, I also don't want to like discredit like how deep this fucking work is. So just remember, but like, just get curious. Maybe, like there is inner child healing to do. Maybe you just like fucking hate babies or like hate children, and you're just like ill, like, just starting to come to a space of like trying to heal those things, so that you can then enjoy your follicular phase. Because when you begin to heal the inner child, you begin to then heal your expression to your playfulness and to your curiosity and to like the new beginnings and all the things, and life starts to flow so fucking beautifully. So that's the follicular phase. Like, there's nothing wrong with you. You are not broken. We are not carbon copies of each other. There's just things to heal. There is just things to look at. There's just work to do. It's the inner work, right? Like, and there's layers to this. Like you might have like 1 or 2 cycles where you're like, oh, I fucking felt really good in my follicular phase. And then another cycle comes along and you're like, oh, I feel a little bit iffy. It's literally just about getting curious and like allowing yourself the space to like go deeper with it. But that's the follicular phase. It's very much linked to inner child healing or the like expression of like creation and like curiosity and like fun play and like all of that. So ovulation time is our fertile window, is linked to the mother archetype. And as I said, I've had my own iteration of this being like the most fucked face in the world and like absolutely hating it. And like I've done the things, like I went to the doctor, I like got the scans, I like did all the fucking things that you're supposed to do, and it's just not the path that worked for me. I was just told to go back on the contraceptive pill, and there was no fucking way I was doing that when the side effects are like a piece of paper that is big enough to like literally use as wallpaper in my bedroom. So that was just not the journey that I chose, and I went the energetic lens, already being like in that field, in that vibe, like loving the energetics of things. But ovulation is linked to the mother archetype. So think of the mother archetype, like the enchantress, the goddess archetype, right? Like she is like deeply like connected, like liberated to her sensual energy, to her sexual energy, to her expression. She's happy to communicate, whether that means like communicating, like wearing clothes that like communicate that she's feeling really sensual and feeling really embodied in her feminine energy, whether it's communicating via like speaking and like getting in conversation and socializing and going out with friends. Like that is that archetype. And she's also fertile. So like just when things are fertile, like they are just like fucking like, I'm here for it. Like, let's fucking go. And that is the energy of ovulation. And when you're cycle syncing or you're working with someone who like teaches you how to cycle sync, you are probably going to hear like ovulation time. Like it's the time of like expression. It's the time of stepping out of your comfort zone. It's the time of like all these things. And 110% it fucking is. But the shadow to this is like the complete fucking opposite. Like, where are you not expressing your truth? Where are you rejecting your sexuality? Where are you not allowing yourself to feel pleasure? These questions that I've just said, if you struggle with ovulation pain, if you struggle with your fertile window, maybe your body is actually not ovulating. So you're having anovulatory cycles. Get curious. Like, where are you not allowing yourself the fun and the play and like the pleasure to like be seen in who you are? And where are you like hiding behind the masks and actually living for someone else's belief system and someone else's reality? Like, when you actually get to like the depths of this, and like I said, it's fucking deep work. Like, don't expect it to just be done in one cycle. Like, this is a commitment, but it's also like one of those things, like, you know, when you like want to work out and you're like, oh, I want to do a workout. I don't really fucking feel like it, but I know that afterwards I'm going to feel really good. Then you go do the workout and then you end up working out longer than you planned. And then your endorphins are just like fucking going wild and you just feel like the best bitch on the earth. And you're just like, I feel so fucking good. Like, I just feel so good. Like, I'm going to take on the world. Like, that's the same with like healing your cycle, right? Like, at the start, it's going to be like, oh my God, this feels like icky and I don't really want to do it. But then by the time you're like in there, in like the hustle and grind of like actually healing your cycle, and I'm not saying it's like a super masculine thing, I'm just like using that as an example of like, once you're in that energy of like doing the work, healing, seeing more parts of yourself, like getting deep with the shadow work, then you're like taking deeper breaths and you're just like, holy shit, this feels good. And then once you've like healed one thing, you can step out of it and you look back and you're like, damn sis, like you just healed that. Like you're so strong. And then you're building evidence for yourself that you're a bad bitch. And then we get to just like keep on going on that roller coaster, which is just like the best. But back to fertile window ovulation. Yeah, when we look at it from a shadow work lens, like where are you not expressing yourself? Where are you rejecting pleasure? Where are you rejecting sexuality? Where are you even like, for example, in the bedroom, right? Not allowing yourself to like actually just speak up and communicate what feels fucking good for you. And you're just going along with what your partner wants. Like, where are you doing that? And how can you stop that? Or like begin to, in a healthy way, communicate how you're wanting to, how you feel, to like actually feel fucking good. And all these little intricate things, like they actually do impact our menstrual cycle on an energetic level so much. So that's the fertile window. And like there's remember, each phase there's a lot more, like it's a lot deeper, and I can go into this a lot deeper. I'm just giving you like the rough like estimate, not the word I was looking for, the rough like guideline of like each phase, so you can sort of get a bit curious of like, oh yeah, I've got work to do, and then, you know, we can work together if that's something you want to do. luteal phase. Our final phase of our menstrual cycle, the longest phase of our menstrual cycle. Okay. The one everyone usually struggles with, like the PMS and the irritability and the anger and the fucking cramping and the food cravings and like keep the list going. Like that's what a lot of people struggle with. This is linked to the wild woman. So even just saying that, right? Wild woman, like a lot of people have an issue with expressing that. A lot of people don't have an issue with expressing that. And you can have an overexpression of these things, and they can also lead to menstrual cycle ailments. Is that the word? Like, remember, like you can have an underexpression and an overexpression. We're looking for like the harmony, like balance of this. Anyway, the wild woman, she is primal as fuck. Like she is like the woman who is like, I don't care if I'm like walking down the beach naked and everyone's looking at me, right? So there's that element. So she's inward, but she's also in her expression in like that primal way. The other phase, like element of the wild woman is she is inward. She's in her own energy, but she is actually in her own energy. She is actually inward to the point that she sees the dark parts of herself. She sees the parts that other people reject, that society rejects, that might not be quote unquote normal or like normal for a woman or like whatever it is. You know, she sees like the desires, like the deep desires. She sees like the feminine urges. She sees the parts of self that just like most people try and fucking hide, and like the masks. Like she sees beyond the masks of herself and she accepts that. And that's the difference. I think you can see these things, but not accept them. And this is where the shadow of the luteal phase is going to take over your menstrual cycle to the point where like you are going to be experiencing fucked PMS symptoms, PMDD, you name it. And I'm not like discrediting any of like the symptoms of the menstrual cycle that you might have or anything like that. I want you to open your mind to the shadow lens of the menstrual cycle and see that actually like you can shift it on an energetic level, and it physically can shift a lot too. So the wild woman, right? Like she's inward. She is also not afraid of release. Like she's not afraid of letting go. She's just there like in her like primal raw essence, in her energy, in her dark parts, almost like walking through life, but like being seen in the darkness, right? And this doesn't make it like bad or evil or anything like that. It's more just like she accepts that, yeah, there's rage in her and she wants to express it, and she will express it healthily. Now, if you don't accept within yourself that you are holding onto anger, or you don't accept in yourself that you can feel rage, or you don't accept in yourself any of those quote unquote dark parts of yourself, of course, in your luteal phase, you're then going to be feeling like a psycho bitch because you actually don't know how to channel that energy in a productive and in a optimal way to like support your lifestyle. And that's okay, because where are we actually taught this? Like along the lines, like we're just told that we're crazy like the week before our period, and then like on our period we're just emotional, and then like whatever, like we're just, that's what we're told, right? It's just like that's the whole stigma. And this is what I really want to break. And when you look at it from this shadow lens, it's like, how can you accept those parts of yourself? How can you just like go inward, but actually take the fucking time to go inward? I'm not talking grab a journal and write like, oh, today I'm feeling really sad. It's linked to this. Like I'm talking like nothing, like just sitting with yourself, like literally just putting on like binaural beats and just sitting, or just sitting in silence, or taking a bath, or staring at yourself in the mirror for 5 minutes and just facing who you are. These things that can be really fucking scary and confronting. That's how you can begin to heal your wild woman archetype, and in turn begin to enjoy your luteal phase. So I really hope you enjoyed this episode. I'm so deeply passionate about like the shadows of the menstrual cycle. And I just think that like, I just can't wait for like more women to understand this so that like you can work on it and just feel so slay, feel so good. Anyway, that's pretty much all I have to say on this. Like, I mean, it's not even a quarter of what I have to say on this, but like for this episode, the shadows of the menstrual cycle. So we've got the wise woman and our bleed time. We have the maiden and our follicular phase. We have the mother archetype, the enchantress, and our ovulation. We have the wild woman and the luteal phase. So the wild woman also, as an add, can be like the witchy energy too. So like that's very rejected and suppressed along lines and years and centuries and all the things as well. So like there's that element. But yeah, I hope that you just got like a good gist of like the shadows of the menstrual cycle. If you want to go deeper with this, please DM me on Instagram at Sacred Space W Tanika Lace. We can have a chat about the Telegram space that I am opening up. And that is so cool because most of my mentorship spaces at the moment are mostly just in person. Like I do like the Telegram access, but I do like in-person sessions, whereas this is just going to be a little bit different, and it's just going to be able to support more of you, which is just the best. That's pretty much all I've got to say. Have a beautiful Thursday, and I will be back in your ears next week at 4:44 a.m. because I changed the time I upload it because 5:55 is just so fucking late in the morning. I've been like in like the era of like getting up at like 4:30 because like otherwise, I'm studying full time, I'm doing all the things. And it's just been so good, but I'm like, my podcast just goes up so late. So now it's 4:44 a.m. Anyway, have a beautiful rest of your day, and I shall speak to you next week. Love you.